You're watching Iowa Public Television.
The American bald eagle is still on the National Endangered Species List. Can our country's symbol survive?
Production of this program has been made possible in part by a grant from Florida Public Broadcasting Service, Incorporated.
On a warm spring morning in 1984, members and friends of the Florida Audubon Society gathered together for a happy occasion. A mature female bald eagle named Yankee was about to be given her freedom. Yankee was a graduate of the Audubon Society's program to rehabilitate injured birds of prey and return them to their natural habitat. She was the largest bald eagle ever to come to the Audubon Center for Birds of Prey. Yankee, with her eyes covered to keep her calm, was probably unaware of what was about to happen. Reese Collins is the curator of the Center for Birds of Prey. Together with a few staff members and some enthusiastic volunteers, she manages the rehabilitation program. She has released 8 eagles in 4.5 years. Today's release is the culmination of 9 months' work with Yankee since she was discovered near starvation last August in Florida's Ocala National Forest. The final preparations begin as John Giles and Terry Esky attach an identification band to Yankee's leg in the event she is found again. A temporary red ribbon is pulled through the band so she can be spotted as she flies with other eagles in the area. The crowd anxiously awaits the moment the eagle returns to the wild. Because eagles are particularly susceptible to changes in their habitat, their presence and any fluctuation in their numbers is a good barometer of a clean environment. Lake Tehopekalaga in central Florida provides an almost perfect home for many migrating and resident eagles. It is a large, shallow body of water that is still mostly undeveloped around its shoreline. The stands of tall pines and cypress trees are excellent nesting and roosting sites. The lake is an abundant source of food for the many types of birds that come here. Here, an immature eagle sits in a cypress tree overlooking the lake. Bald eagles don't develop the characteristic white head and tail feathers until they are 3 to 5 years old. Until then, their mottled brown color gives them the appearance of a hawk or vulture. The eagle takes off in search of a meal, demonstrating his hunting skills. Catching a moving target on the wing is quite an aeronautical accomplishment. His powerful talons deliver a death grip to his prey. His beak is razor sharp and hooked for tearing flesh. Florida ranks 3rd in the country behind Alaska and Washington in numbers of bald eagles. In the United States, they are 2nd in size only to the California condor. Size doesn't seem to impress these crows. The southern subspecies we see here is smaller than its northern counterpart. Males weigh between 6 and 10 pounds and have a wingspan of about 6 feet. Females are larger, weighing between 8 and 12 pounds, with a wingspan of 7 feet. Eagles seem to have a sense of loyalty. They mate for life, although they will establish another pair bond if their partner dies. Death has come far too often in this century, from the wanton killings by hunters and ranchers protecting their livestock, to the disastrous effects of DDT in the food chain during the 50s and 60s. Under the Endangered Species Act, killing an eagle now can result in 1 year imprisonment and/or a $20,000 fine. Eagles build their nests in sturdy pines and cypress trees that are tall enough to give them a good view of the area. They build massive nests, constantly rearranging and adding to them. One nest in Florida has reportedly been found measuring 9 feet across, 20 feet deep, and weighing 2 tons. Eagles are slow to reproduce. During the wintertime breeding season in Florida, the female lays 2 or 3 eggs. Both parents share the incubation and rearing duties. The eggs will hatch in 35 days, and young eaglets like this one are ready to fly in 8 or 9 weeks. The adults will spend another 2 months teaching the young how to hunt for food. Sometimes, eagles will abandon a completed nest for some unknown reason and then rebuild close by. Sharp vision is needed to spot prey from great heights. Their eyesight is 6 times better than a human being's. Under the right conditions, an eagle can spot a rabbit from a distance of 2 miles. Eagles eat fish mainly, but they will occasionally feed on carrion. Many of the injured eagles the Audubon Society receives have been hit by cars while feeding on roadkills. Eagles can live more than 30 years in the wild if they can avoid their only mortal enemy. The Center for Birds of Prey, or Raptors as they are known, was opened in Maitland in 1979 as an aviary complex designed to educate visitors about Florida's hawks, owls, and eagles.
The Center for Birds of Prey has 2 main purposes. One is education, the other is rehabilitation of injured and orphaned birds of prey, such as this baby screech owl. To prevent an injury known as imprinting, we use puppets to hand feed the birds, so as they're starting to see, they learn to identify with their own species rather than with man. That prevents them from becoming very tame, and then we can release them back to the wild. Feathers that are not used for imping purposes and parts of eagles that are found or need to be amputated are sent to a feather repository in Pocatello, Idaho, where Native American Indians can request them for use in religious and medicinal purposes. Whole carcasses of eagles that do not survive their injuries can be made into educational mounts, such as this immature bald eagle here, and used to educate people about our bald eagle. Another aspect of the Center for Birds of Prey is Project Eagle. It's a mutually sponsored captive breeding program utilizing permanently injured bald eagles for breeding purposes. It's the intent of the program to release back to the wild any young that will come as a result of the pairing of the permanently crippled birds. It's sponsored between Florida Audubon Society and the Miami Metro Zoo. Since the center's opening, over 750 raptors have been received from the Central Florida area for treatment. A third of those have been rehabilitated successfully and released back to the wild. A third of those succumbed due to their injuries, and the remaining third are permanently injured and will never fly again.
It was here that Yankee was brought after she was found by an officer of the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission. The cause of her injuries was unknown, but she was in poor health from a slight wing injury, a respiratory illness, and parasites. After receiving treatment at the University of Florida School of Veterinary Medicine, she was transferred to Reese for rehabilitation. Yankee was placed in a 40-foot-long flight cage where she could exercise her leg and wing muscles that weren't used during her physical recuperation. Gradually, the strength to fly was restored. The flight cage is also used in the feeding of live prey. Reese and her staff must be careful not to tame or imprint human characteristics on the birds during captivity. Rats are used to re-stimulate the hunting instinct and ensure that the birds are capable of killing prey. Here, several permanently injured birds are being fed. It is not easy to watch the violence of survival. The eagle is a predator. His presence in the wild is essential to maintain the balance of nature. Yankee had once again become an accomplished hunter. During Yankee's stay at the center, an immature eagle named Nathan was being readied for release. We followed Nathan's progress to see what we could expect for Yankee later in the year. Handling birds of prey is difficult and can be dangerous. The sharp talons and beak of this bird make wearing heavy gloves essential. After being named Nathan, the eagle was discovered to be a female. She was injured last July in a collision with a power line. She had wing injuries and burns on her body. But with the help of Dr. Rob Hess, a veterinarian who volunteers his services to Audubon, Nathan completely recovered. Most younger birds adjust well to captivity and the rehabilitation process. In the final preparations for release, Nathan was taken to a nearby open field for distance flight training. The techniques used in flight training have been developed over the centuries by falconers. Leather thongs called jesses are looped around each leg. A long rope or crayons is attached to the jesses. A piece of surgical tubing at the juncture acts as a shock absorber. As Nathan starts flying, John smoothly meters out the crayons. This exercise for an hour every day will strengthen the bird's muscles for distance flying, ascension, and control. Nathan's trainers are careful not to let her get too close to trees and fences. As the weeks go by, Nathan begins to fly stronger and farther. Reese watches her progress and checks the wing flight pattern, duration, and speed. Flight training can sometimes look cruel, but the eagles must reach peak physical condition before release, and they probably enjoy the feeling of a long flight. After a final physical examination, Reese has decided the time has come for Nathan's release. It was a cool Sunday morning in January when the spectators gathered at the Lake Toho site to bid Nathan farewell. Nathan had been out here a week to get her used to the area. A hack board or feeding platform she had been using all week would be put up again after the release. Reese and Dr. Hess had the honors of cutting the jesses. Nathan's big moment had come. The only problem was, no one had told her what she was supposed to do.
Do it again. Yeah.
birds are not abandoned after they are released. Reese explains the use of the hackboard.
Okay, the hackboard that you see set up here on the property where we release the eagle is used as a temporary feeding station for the bird. During the time when they're adjusting to being free in the wild, we continue to supply them with food. They tend to stay in the area. Sometimes they return to the hackboard for food if they're not successful in capturing food on their own in the wild for the first couple of days when they're released. Sometimes they never return at all.
A week later, a lookout spotted Nathan 3 times flying with other eagles. Nathan was again in control of her own fate. Eagles have other friends besides the Audubon Society. The responsibility of caring for our wildlife will be passed on to each new generation. Doris Mager has dedicated her life to educating the public, especially school children, about birds of prey. After many years of work for the Audubon Society and earning the nickname the Eagle Lady, she formed her own organization last June called SOAR Incorporated, Save Our American Raptors. With her van full of owls and eagles, Doris travels all across the state and along the Atlantic seaboard, introducing the birds to attentive audiences.
Maybe he would say, "Good morning, everybody, how are you?" Would you like to say something? What do you think about that, huh? There you go.
For many children, it's the first time they have seen these birds close up, and they are always curious.
I had the neatest question asked to me by a boy in a classroom, and he said, "What will we do when the bald eagle becomes extinct?" Well, I had to think for a minute. That just kind of really threw me. And I had to think, and I thought, and I said, our bald eagle is not going to become extinct. We will not have to choose another bird to represent the United States. If everybody will pull together, the bald eagle will be here forever.
For the past 10 years, the Eagle Lady has been conducting an aerial survey of eagle nests in Florida. This survey is part of an overall project by the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission, Everglades National Park, and the Ocala National Forest Service to see how the eagle is faring statewide. From November through May, Doris and pilot Glenn Perkins fly over 17.5 counties, checking on 250 nests. Doris keeps records of where the nests are and how many young have fledged. She can also spot potentially threatening developments around the nests and report the trouble to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The number of young eagles that fledged is down from 180 last year to 150 this year. But Doris feels the unusually cold and stormy weather was to blame, and she won't worry unless the trend continues for a couple of years. She believes eagles are holding their own in the state, and there may even be a slight increase overall. Doris thinks there is a major problem facing the eagle in Florida.
Right on the bottom line, it's habitat destruction. And it's that way with every wild creature is having a problem because of so many people moving into the state of Florida. Their land is being taken away. But because I've been elected to the recovery team from Washington, we have what we call our bald eagle recovery team. It is we're about finished with it now. It can tell a person if they find a nest on their property, actually what to do to help to protect that nest. And so there are rules and regulations that they can go by, and it can be to their advantage. We have some eagles that are actually building their nest in back people's yards. Over in Oviedo, the people called me. They were so excited they could hear the eagles actually breaking the twigs. And there was a big cypress tree in this subdivision, and the eagles had built their nest there. The eagles came in to the people. So this is happening. We have several of them, like Enterprise. Anybody can go up there. Nobody would go with a gun. The people feel that those are their eagles, and nobody would want to go in there and do anything to the eagles. So let's hope that a lot of our eagles will find out it's not so bad to live with people. And the more that we have this happening, the more our eagles will be successful in being here forever. And they will be here forever, I'm sure of that.
By April, Yankee was in the final stages of rehabilitation before her scheduled release. She had always been a difficult bird to handle. During her flight training, some days she would refuse to cooperate at all. and then on other days she would fly powerfully. Because of Yankee's large size and bad temper, Reese was careful to keep clear of the beak and talons. After passing her final physical, Yankee was ready for the finishing touches. During flight training, eagles often break their tail feathers. This happens in the wild, too, and they will grow new feathers to replace lost ones. To give Yankee every advantage in the air, Reese and Terry replaced the broken feathers by a process called imping. Borrowed from an old falconry technique, the broken feather is cut back and a new feather is fitted to the remaining shaft. There are no nerve endings in the feathers, so the process is painless. In Yankee's case, some feathers were donated by a group of permanently injured eagles who have no hope of flying again. 2 needles are inserted into the hollow shafts. The 2 parts of the feather are permanently joined together with glue. The new imped feather will function as a natural feather for Yankee until it naturally molts. The original date of release had to be postponed because of a storm over Lake Toho. It seemed like a warning of things to come. As people who work with wildlife have come to know, animals are totally unpredictable. Much to the dismay of everyone, Yankee tried to crawl to freedom.
Probably thinks he's attached to the rope. Everybody please stay back. The more we get around, the more...
Trying to escape from her pursuers, she bounded through the underbrush, past a barbed wire fence and into a flooded pasture. She made several short flights, getting her wings wetter each time she landed. All anyone could do was watch and hope she made it up in the air. Suddenly, an immature eagle flew in close to Yankee to see what was going on. Apparently very curious about the situation, it landed in a small tree a few yards away. Some of the Audubon staff wondered aloud if it could possibly be Nathan. After a few minutes, the immature took off at the lake as if to say to Yankee, "You're back home again. Follow me." Then it was Yankee's turn. She made a final valiant effort to get up in the air, perhaps realizing finally there were no more ropes to hold her back. She picked up a little altitude and headed into an island of trees, out of view of the spectators. John waded out to the island to see where she might go next. He reported back that he saw her finally flying high and free. Reese and her staff know there are no promises in their work with injured wildlife. Success means never hearing from them again. All Reese can be sure of is that they gave a member of an endangered species another chance at life. after Yankee's release, Reese got a call from some people in a neighboring town telling her of a baby eagle that had fallen out of its nest. It was about 10 weeks old and had not yet quite mastered flying. The parents were still in the area, but Reese was unsure if they would feed the baby on the ground. She brought the bird to the center for a week of observation. After a checkup and a few good meals, she decided to try and put the baby back in the nest and let the parents take care of it. With some help from the local fire department, Terry was able to hoist up the eagle and put it back in the nest.
Ready? This is the second time.
It's a good idea to show respect, even to the young ones.
Uh-oh, Terry, you're in trouble.
Within 2 weeks, the baby was seen flying with his parents. Human hands that once dealt destruction so easily now must rekindle the vitality of this fellow species of the earth. The symbol chosen for our country by the Founding Fathers is unique to North America. Where he once flourished all over the continent, the bald eagle is now on the National Endangered Species List. He fares a little better in Florida with a population of just over 1,000 and holding. However, with only a handful of states with any bald eagles at all, the management of this magnificent bird becomes all the more important. The inexorable loss of wilderness areas threatens all our wildlife, and if left unbridled, threatens us too. With new cities on the horizon, the future is uncertain, even for this eagle paradise. If we are determined not to lose the beauty and wonder of our land, then both the bird and the ideals it stands for may last forever.
Stay tuned and discover society's varying attitude toward homosexuality. Before Stonewall profiles the homosexual experience in America, next.
Production of this program has been made possible in part by a grant from Florida Public Broadcasting Service, Incorporated.
Happy holidays, everyone. I'm Mark Pearson. This special time of the year always brings such great preparation and holiday good cheer. So please accept this invitation from me to you to join me gift shopping and good time partying on my holiday special. It'll be a seasonally exhilarating and sometimes exhausting affair. That's Mark Pearson's Holidays, not just your average holiday special. Wednesday and Friday nights at 8:30.
1951's most valuable player in the Big Ten was a University of Iowa fullback. Now Des Moines clothier Bill Reichardt says he was playing a high-stakes game.
I've really never said this publicly, but since you asked me the question, I was the highest illegally paid football player in the history of Iowa to my day.
This is Pat Bodie. Join us for Touchstone Thursday night at 8:30.
You're watching Iowa Public Television.